All right, good morning everybody, wherever you are. It's Saturday morning here, and we're going to work on some Geode coasters. Don't mind my dog making noise in the back. She wants to go outside and play with the neighbor's dog. So these are some silicone molds I got from Etsy, and I've never used them before, so this will be just as much of an experiment for me. Since I've never used them before and made them before, I'm a little shaky on how much epoxy to mix. So I mixed an ounce, well 2 ounces total, part A and part B mixed together. And I have another ounce of each in medicine cups ready to go should there be a need for more. So I have a feeling it will be more. You know, I do a lot of resin work with cups and stuff, and so I kind of know what to do there. Usually I'm working on more than one thing at a time, so I mix an ounce and kind of see how far I get. And so today I am using mostly Woody's Goodies micas and eco glitters. So I recently got a whole bunch of these, and I haven't had time to play with any of them, and I've been so excited to try them. So this morning I was like, what to do, and so I will share the colors with you. I'm just mixing them up really quick. I may have to stop and mix more epoxy, but we'll see. But some of these colors are just really, really beautiful. So I do have one Bling It color from Colourarte, and it's an Abalone like frost color. And I don't have my foil flakes in, so I was kind of on the fence to use like crushed glass in the middle or like crushed glitter. So I think I'm going to do like irregular shaped glitter, but I'm still kind of on the fence. So I haven't mixed it with anything. So we'll kind of experiment together. So I'm going to show you the colors I'm using in just a second. And hopefully, I'm doing my best to not make this a super long video, because if you were to do it from start to finish, it would be pretty long. So I was overwhelmed for like an hour this morning. I was looking at all of these colors and trying to decide which ones to use, and I was like, you know what, I just need to start doing something right now or I'm gonna run out of time. So okay, let me make sure you can see what I'm doing here. So this color is Candy Apple. That's pretty amazing looking. It's really dark. So I don't want a lot of it because it's really dark. So, but my theme is sort of blush, red, and kind of pearl. So this is probably a little darker than I intended, but I do still want to use it. I also thought briefly about adding in another resin art color to kind of blend in the two, and maybe I should do that. So I'm going to pause my gloves for a second. Like I said, I was very overwhelmed with trying to decide what to do. If for some reason I don't use a color, I'm going to put it in a 3D mold like this so that we don't waste anything. And then we'll keep putting stuff in there. But, you know, half the fun when you have these things is figuring out what they're going to look like. So this color by Rezinarte is called Puppy Love. I don't even know if you can see what I'm doing, and pardon all of the pigments on my hands. Unfortunately, I have been opening and taking the little seals off of these things. So I'm trying to reuse my gloves because it's hard to find gloves these days. anyway, so I am going to do these today, and then once they set, I'm gonna try to go around the edge with a gold leafing pin. So obviously that's kind of the intent, is to do the pink gold, some super girly coasters, and then the next ones I want to do are a different shape, and I kind of want to do them in some blues, maybe some teals with a silver leafing pen. But it's hard for me to narrow down the color. One of the biggest challenges I have with this is when I start to try a new color or try new things, I want to try everything at one time, and then you kind of don't get to see what you had in mind. So this color may actually be a good transition from that candy apple color. It's a little dark pinkish, so I don't know how well you can see it. It's really beautiful. It's beautiful, right? So this is Puppy Love by Rezinarte. And I don't really want like a hot pink color, so I'm really on the fence about that. So we'll see. So I love the color, but this is an experiment, so maybe I shouldn't be so picky. So this color, let me see if you can see what I'm doing, is called Pink Champagne. And it's like a beautiful sort of pink rose gold. I accidentally bought 2 of these, so we'll be seeing that one a lot. This color is an eco glitter. So it's a really fine kind of mica type glitter. It's called Aphrodites Nighty, and it is a beautiful color. It's just super shimmery and pink. It'll be really pretty on some Milky Way tumblers, which I hope to do a tutorial of soon. This is, I want to say this is Frosty Pearl. Where did I put it? Yeah, this is Frosty Pearl, so it's like a really white pearl color. And this is the Bling It from Colourarte. It's a Abalone, so it's sort of like the Aphrodites Nighty in the sense that it's kind of glittery. That's kind of what I wanted. I'm gonna have to take these gloves off because I tried to reuse them. And there's epoxy on the inside, and I have a little bit of an epoxy allergy, so I'm just gonna use some rubbing alcohol real quick and put on a different pair of gloves. Since there's been such a shortage of gloves, I've had to use those like vinyl gloves because you can't really get the other gloves right now because of COVID. And so one time I found a box of 1,000. I bought it really fast because I didn't think that we would have the ability to get them, but I had to get an extra large. So that fits my husband, but they're a little bit big on me. So I go through the extra large ones if I think I'm going to have to change my gloves all the time, and then I try to preserve the large size ones a little bit more. So one thing that's kind of fun to do so that you can know what your colors and your pigments actually look like is when you mix them, put a little dot on the top of the container, because then you can see what that color actually looks like. Now it's pretty dark looking, but because a lot of times micas and pigments, dry pigments, don't necessarily look the same in powder form, so it's hard to tell what they're going to look like until you put something on them, or mix them with epoxy, or mix your paint pigments, or whatever the case is. So I do that with my primary elements from Colourarte. I haven't done it with Pearl X because I kind of know what those are going to turn out like, but with micas and stuff, that's a super, super helpful tip. So just from me to you, I'm just going to do that with these really quick. And then we're going to go ahead and pour this in, and hopefully I have mixed up enough so my dog is crying because she wants to go outside, so hold on, baby. The neighbors have a new puppy out there visiting, I think, and the puppy is so cute. But my dogs are like, what is this? Who is this little dog? And so they have been wanting to go outside pretty much constantly since the neighbor brought the puppy. And so I'm afraid if I let her out that she's not going out just to go to the bathroom, that she's going out to be real annoying to the neighbors. But on the off chance that she does have to go, I think I'll let her go. In just a second. Okay, so the very first color I think that we're gonna put in here, man, I'm really torn about this color, y'all. I don't know if that's gonna go with our color scheme at all. It certainly could, though. So these are kind of warm, and this is more of a cool color. If I put them in, I would either put it this, then this, then this. Maybe we'll do that. Okay. I'm probably gonna have to water down this candy apple color a little bit more. And I have a little bit of epoxy in reserve over here, so my plan is that we'll use that for the middle or to thin out the epoxy if we need a little bit more in each cup. So I have a feeling we are going to need more. So this is regular epoxy. This is not casting resin, so you can't go any deeper than 1/8 of an inch. Well, we're definitely going to need more epoxy than this. I'm going to use almost all of this just on this one. My concern is I think that I have way too much red. So it's okay. They're not intended to be perfect. And you can move it around if you're like, hey, that's too much. Move it around over here, you know? So that's okay. But that's exactly why I mixed up so much epoxy, because I had a feeling that was going to happen. And I'm going to have to clean that up. Can't be doing that. Okay. I'm not going to worry too much about that right now, because it should be kind of, Chloe, stop that. Should be not that see-through. So, Chloe, she's making weird, licking her toes over there, making weird noises. Okay, so I'm probably going to end up having to mix more for this. Let's see. I'm using little paper cups because you can get a decent, you can pour a little easier because you can bend them. And you don't have to use so much. You might be able to. I think that first one was kind of a good trial run. I used too much, and I still might have to fetch some out of there. Because this is going to move as you heat it up and as it continues to cure. So you don't necessarily need a lot of it, and this color is really dark, so I think I'm going to put some of this back. It's beautiful though. It is a beautiful, like vibrant, warm red color. Don't worry too much about what I'm getting on the edges because it peels off, so we don't have to worry. So I apologize, this might be a little bit longer than it needs to be just because of my learning curve for the first one. And I'm used to dealing with epoxy, but So I'm not trying to fill up the mold. That's not necessarily my goal, because I don't really think we need to do that to get the effect we want. So, plus these are probably no deeper than 1/8 of an inch, but again, like if you get too deep, your epoxy won't cure unless you have casting epoxy. So we're using art resin, not art resin brand, we're using the Faux Rizzles version today. And clean this up. This is just a paper towel with a little bit of alcohol on it. Just used it to clean my hands. I don't want the middle to have all that red, so. Little puppy's out there barking. So cute. It's a cute little puppy. Okay. I'm just gonna have to trust that that's gonna work out, because these gloves are too big for me. All right. So when we add some puppy love to that section, we aren't going to use very much of it. So I'm going to try to make this candy apple work as is without having to add more. And my epoxy is starting to get a little bit firm, so I'm losing my window here. Sorry, that's my dog. She's making her presence known. And so I'm gonna very much hope that I can get this to go through all the rest of these. And I hope you can see what I'm doing. I may end up speeding this part up. Okay, now, last one. Let's see if we have enough. So that was a lesson learned, that when you think you have plenty, you may not. Chloe, you're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait, sweet pea. And the fun thing about these is they can match and not be super uniform too. So this is gonna need some more. So probably some more mica too, unfortunately. So I'm gonna burn through some more gloves real quick. And I really bet I could get some from here and make that work, but it's getting to be kind of a messy endeavor, so just a tiny bit. You don't need a lot when you're not covering a lot of ground, so just a little bit. And some more gloves here. I can personally say that depending on the epoxy that you're using, you might experience different results, because different epoxies have different viscosity. So like Stone Coat, for example, is wonderful, and it is a little bit thinner. So when you use it for projects like this, a lot of times your epoxy continues to move and kind of create its own designs after you're done, because of the way it is. Faux Rizzle, this is a beta version, so I just bought the art resin version for tumblers, or that's what I'm going to use it for primarily. I have used Faux Rizzle Nouveau, and I have used this beta version. This beta version mixes up thin, kind of like Stone Coat, but when it sets, it thickens quite a bit. Also, when you add pigments and stuff to epoxy, it's going to thicken up in a different way than it would by itself. Micas thicken up pretty quickly just because they increase the density of your epoxy. So just be mindful that if you are going to try to make something like geodes or whatever, you kind of have to know what your working time is. Like KS resin, for example, mixes up and is pretty thick, but does have a pretty decent working time. So, you know, just be aware of that. So now we have a pretty decent amount in here. So let's put this leftover, which isn't a lot, into the bottom of this little 3D mold. So this mold will be the recipient of unused epoxy that's mixed with stuff. I've always got coasters and stuff pretty much ready to use, but this is a good way to throw in your leftover epoxy and let it begin to, it can be like a paperweight or something. Because eventually it'll be kind of like layered. I don't know how it's going to look with some of the drips on the side there, but can't really worry about that right now. But this is kind of what it looks like on the inside. I don't know if you can see that. But it'll probably have some more friends in there today, some backup. But you know, give it away as a gift, paperweights, you know, little crystal looking things, because when you peel it off, it will be full of epoxy. I could probably clean up some of that on the inside too with my glove. But even if you didn't, it would still be pretty, especially because it's going to merge, I'm sure, with some of the other stuff that we're going to put in there today. I'm going to put this off to the side right now. So I'm going to use a little bit of this. I don't really know how I'm going to pull that off because it's not really enough to go in all of them. So I think I'm going to end up having to mix this other epoxy for the middle. We'll see though. Now, sometimes if your epoxy gets too thick, like this is pretty thick, you can hit it with a little heat to thin it out, but know that it's going to cure faster. So you got to use it quick. You don't want to do that and then kind of set it back down. So what I'm going to do is maybe fill it in where we have less of the red first, and maybe only in a just like a very tiny, tiny trail. That's not a tiny trail. At all. So, good intentions. Poor execution. And I think it's going to be too pink for these, but again, this is an experiment, so. But you see how torching it made it a little more fluid? Let's see. Maybe I can make that work with a little bit more of this epoxy. Add it in so that I don't have to mix up any more of that. I'm making a significant mess, and I'm really trying to not get that clean epoxy dirty. This is why my torch is crazy looking, because I grab it with all kinds of stuff on my hands. Okay, we only have two more of these to try to knock out, so let's see. And just try to do a super thin layer because I'm afraid we're going to run out if I keep pushing it. And then this one, just going to put it all right here. I really want the bulk of this to be those frosty pinks, and I just wanted an accent color of something dark in here to create some contrast. Okay. Let's see. I'm hoping all those drips will not really show, but we'll see. There's a little bit of gaps here, so instead of putting this in the mold, I think I'm going to put it in some of our little gaps, because we definitely have a thicker layer of red on some than others, and so maybe this pink will fill in. But you know, like, that's the beautiful thing about resin art, fluid art, is it's not ever going to be perfectly uniform. You can't make it that way. That's one of the things that's great about it. And that's what makes it kind of fun, is you can't fully control it. I always say that. All right, so now our pink champagne is thickening up. So I really hope I don't have to stop and mix more epoxy with y'all, because I'm trying to not make this video so long, and it's already way longer. I thought 15 minutes will be in and out, but now I kind of know what to expect. I probably would mix more epoxy first. All right, you know what? This is going to be a big chunk of what we're doing, these two colors. So let's use some of the rest of this epoxy and these other colors. And I think this Abalone color I can probably mix that glitter into. So maybe I don't need to reserve any. So these two pink colors are probably going to need the bulk of our epoxy that's left. I'm going to turn this cup upside down. Yikes, don't fall in there. Sticky gloves. All right, this is fun. Sometimes I may have like a small window of time to do things. It's hard for me to decide in between, like, doing orders and what to do. So I'm like, do I want to do coasters? Do I want to do a resin piece? And a friend of mine has asked us to do this really cool resin art piece on a Texas shaped piece of wood, and I'm super excited to do it. But by the same token, I kind of want to test the colors that she's looking for. And so I thought about trying to do that this morning. So I was looking at all these resin pigments, and I was thinking, and I was like, maybe I should try that first. And I was like, well, I've been wanting to do these geode coasters for a while. So this is a lot more gold, at least initially, than I think I was planning on. I really need more of this epoxy in here. I should have just mixed up the other ounce of epoxy, huh? I should just stop and do that. Because, but then again, I have this feeling that once I get all these in there, it's going to be plenty, because right now we still have 3 more colors. So I also kind of think that this pink champagne color is going to help those 2 red pinky colors kind of blend together. So let's see if I'm right. I'm getting the outside of these molds all kind of sticky. All right, my dogs are snoring for y'all. I've been watching Julie Cuts do a lot of these on her YouTube channel. And she even created some of her own molds. I'd like to try that. Although the artist I got these from, they weren't overly priced, I thought. I thought they were priced well, because people are pretty proud of these geode coaster molds, especially the big tray ones. I think if I make my own, that's what I'd like to start off with, is a big tray. Like, that's probably not the decor I would use in my house, but I do think they're cool looking. And they're very intricate, so they'd be good for like wedding showers, baby showers, elegant dinner party type things, where some people do the 3-tiered ones. Those are really pretty too. This one might need a little boost. hope we can get all the way around. Dang, y'all, this takes forever. I'm sorry. Fast forward if you like. If I have more time to edit the video, I may speed it up, but sometimes I don't have that kind of time to choose where we're going to invest all that time. So, but you can take your popsicle stick and do this very carefully, because again, some of that's going to flow and blend. But this kind of looks like a really soft gold, even though it's a more pinky gold. So that's fun. Well, we didn't put any of this in our little 3D mold, did we? Okay, let's do this. This is thickening up a lot, so I need to stop taking so much time on it. Okay, and I know, like, sorry, I'm probably like right in the camera. I know that we might be getting a little nervous now about it heating up, but keep in mind, we are going to torch it once it's in there, and that will give us a little bit more room. So let's see. And in a pinch, we can always mix up more epoxy and do just a little bit more of an embellishment in the middle. And that maybe, and we can also mix up just more of that pink champagne and the lighter colors and kind of layer them in the middle. That might be cool. And if we end up having to do more, that's probably what we will do, because the dark outside is plenty dark. So, and they won't be super girly if they're, well, they won't be the intended amount of girly that we have here, because they would be a little bit too, like, of a stark color. All right. So I'm not going to be worried. I'm tempted to stop right now and mix this other epoxy, but for now, I'm not going to worry. Just going to keep going till we get that other pearl color involved, and then if we still need some, then okay. We're probably going to need some though. All right, and I would love to know in the comments what colors you would like to see next, because I have a bunch of different colors I want to try, and this is a good way for me to kind of experiment with my new micas and my new resin pigments. And so I can tell you what I'm thinking of, and you can tell me, do that next. So I want to do like some teals and blues, and I want to do some purples. I even thought about doing the purple and like some of the blues together. And I want to do some like royal blues and some greens. And you know, we're about to approach fall, so I wouldn't mind doing some fall colors. I'm really running out here. Let's see. I really think we're gonna have to have more epoxy. Boo-hoo. Yeah, we are, guys. We're gonna have to have more epoxy. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and mix it really quick. And I hate to do that with you guys, but I also hate to waste another set of gloves, so I'm gonna do it. The good thing is, normally you have to wait a really long time before you can kind of use your epoxy so it can set up really good. But in this case, we kind of need it to be kind of fluid. So we're gonna mix it for a couple minutes, and I'm probably gonna end up having to burn through some gloves anyway. And then I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put more of the pink champagne and more of the Aphrodites Nighty, and I'm gonna do another layer of each before we do the pearl in the middle. I think that will be really pretty. So hang with me for a second. If you're not used to mixing epoxy, I will link a video in the description box where I just very simply mix some epoxy before I put it on a cup. I know when I first started doing tumblers and doing this kind of art, I wanted how-to videos for everything. So if you're like me and that's how you learn, I will link that for you. I know I'm on a lot of artist pages and painting and resin painting and that kind of pages, and a lot of people are afraid of resin and they're afraid of kind of the unknowns about how to mix it, and I totally get that to a degree. So with faux resin, and with most high quality like art resins, usually you need to mix it about 3 minutes because you need parts A and B to mix together. And when they mix together, that's how they their little chemical compounds begin to form, and you can they bond that way. So if you don't mix it long enough, your epoxy may or may not set. And so that's obviously pretty important, right? You want your epoxy to set, and you want it to gel together. Another thing is, like, if you're doing flat surfaces or even like tumblers where the epoxy's turning on a turner, if your epoxy isn't mixed well, you're going to get fish eyes. It's going to try to separate, all of those things. You still can get those things sometimes, even when you do everything perfectly. But that's another reason you really want it to mix well. Faux resin recommends that you mix 3 minutes in one cup and put it in another container and do it again. And that's just to make sure that you don't have anything in the sides or the bottom that's not mixed, because you do need very equal parts of A and B. So just for what it's worth, there are some that just mix up a lot quicker. I personally think it's because the viscosity is different. Stone Coat, for example, does. Some of the cheaper epoxies that are maybe not as good quality from a heat resistance and a UV protection do, like Pro Marine, for example. But these are, I want them to be food safe. I want them to be UV resistant. These will be available for sale, so I want whoever gets them to get to experience them for a very long time. So those are all things that you want to consider when you're choosing epoxy. I try to use faux resin a lot because I have less of an allergic reaction to it. But I personally love Stone Coat. KS resin is also a very high quality resin that is very affordable, and I'm also an affiliate for them, so I can share a link below. Very affordable, high working time. So if you don't have any issues with epoxy, it's a great resin. The only thing I will tell you is you gotta mind your air bubbles. You have to make sure you're torching them pretty regularly. Speaking of, we're gonna torch this just to make sure we have decent working time with it. I'm not really worried about the mold underneath it, but this epoxy is starting to set, so I'm just torching the air bubbles while we're waiting. Once we get everything in there, I'll torch it again, but I just want to make sure we're, oh crap, I went through my tablecloth there. No good. I need to put something under that. Maybe not a napkin, right? Since I'm torching things. I think I'll just move this guy back a little bit. The casualties of art. Thankfully, if worst case scenario, I can get that off the counter, but I'm gonna have to switch off my gloves anyway because I'm going to have to get some more of this stuff mixed up in a cup. There's 3 gloves already. 3 pairs of gloves already, y'all. Okay. Okay, let's see what I can put under there. I'm gonna put this junk mail envelope under there so that I don't cause troubles. Oops, it's not flat. Okay. We'll do that. There we go. We'll make it work. All right. Now I'm going to just put a little bit of this stuff that we're going to mix it in. I don't need to do anything but these 2 because we already have the others mixed in a cup, and in a pinch I can add epoxy to that cup. Just have to move kind of quickly. So we know we needed a little bit more than we thought. So although this at this point is kind of supplemental, so I might have just overdone that a little bit. Chloe, stop that. She's licking her toes again. Okay. This color, look at that. I mean, who doesn't love that? You don't even have to like pink to think that's pretty. Chloe, stop, mama. I think I kind of shortchanged this color after all, but let's see. No, I gotta go with my gut on that because we don't want this to be really opaque at this, in this area of the coaster, because this is where we're gonna start to walk clear. So, I didn't mix the epoxy for 6 minutes total. I only mixed it for 3. So we're just gonna take some chances because we are truly running out of time, and I may end up having to use some of this epoxy to cover a painting or something in a minute so it doesn't get wasted, which, believe me, I have plenty of them to work on. If nothing else, I might even mix it up and try it on all the new colors that I want to try. So a lot of people, when they make these coasters, they might even go back in before they cure, or not before they cure, but once they're dry, and add like a flood coat or a gloss coat over the top. Yeah, I personally could go either way on that. I think that can be really cool looking. I don't know that it's necessary, but I can see why people would. So let's start with this guy over here. Fill in that little dot and then come out over here. That is so much more than I intended to be in there. And so much right there. Too much right there. Let that blend in a little bit. It's going to just make that all look like it's this rose gold color. But you know, I gotta say that pink champagne color really pulls that red and hot pink into the equation really nicely. It kind of makes it look like I shouldn't be regretting that decision. So now I know from this little experiment with you guys that ideally maybe an ounce of both part A and part B is not quite enough. maybe 1.5 ounces, 2 ounces, depending on the thickness that you want, is a little better. So I personally think you get better leverage picking it up and holding it. I'm not having the greatest success just pouring it, so that's why I'm doing this. I also really like to follow the lines of the mold so that you don't just develop like circles. I personally like that a lot better. This one definitely did not get a lot of it, so I'm going to help it a little bit, just in some places, so it has a little bit more. Plus that kind of helps with our line not being so circular. Well, maybe it helps with that. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But I can tell you that may have been a bad choice, because I'm looking at how much we have left to put in here, and I'm like, I don't know that we needed to do that for this one. So I'm going to take some of it out. Because by the time we add the Aphrodites Nighty in here and leave room for the center to be clear, I'm not sure that we're going to need that. So let's do this. I don't even know if we're going to need all the pearl colors, so I hope I didn't mess this up. We'll see. I love that Aphrodites Nighty, it's beautiful. And then well, it's not level right there because of that stupid envelope. I'm gonna have to move that even if it's outside the view. Sorry, y'all. This may not be enough of this either. I'm over here thinking it's too much, not enough. Dang, that may not be enough. That's okay. We're gonna make it work. Just may not be as whoa. It's amazing how much a little of that does. A little goes a long way, indeed. The only thing I will say is it's not going to be as clear where the gold ends and the Aphrodites Nighty starts, but that's kind of okay. I didn't want it to be too stark with the gold because I either wanted to do gold flakes in the middle, which I'm not going to do, or I wanted to do the gold leafing pen, or both. So if we have gold in it, then we can not overpower it with the leafing pen because it's not going to be in the middle after all. So yay. So I think we did pretty well with that. Sorry if my head's in the way. I think we're all right. Now, my frosty pearl is very thick, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to see if I can revive it and see if I can get it to, I don't want too much of it. It's very white looking for the rest of this. So I don't want too much of it, but I do want a little, because we're getting to the center where we kind of want things to be a little more light colored, and we're probably going to do this Abalone color quite a bit in the middle, and I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to put glitter or just go with the shimmer that it has. So I'm going to start where we have the most room, because I tend to learn from the first time I pour from the cup. See, I like a little bit of that, but I don't want too much of it, because it is a lot whiter, just because it is literally a frosty color. It's not intended to be like a gold frosty. I do have one of those, and Erin has, I think it's Frosty Pearl 2.0. That is more gold, more cream. I didn't get that because I have interference gold colors, and I have a lot of colors that would do that for me, so I wanted to have this color. All right, it's really pretty. And again, keep in mind, these are gonna blend together a little bit. Oh no, I think I torched my thumb through my gloves. These are going to blend a little bit more together when we torch them, which is why I kind of have to move fast, because we're running out of the time before our epoxy sets. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Not that much. Yikes. And I'm kind of messing up everything else by messing with it, so maybe I should stop. The one place where we have a little bit more room is on these two. So where you can see that you have a lot more of a opening, then use that. Now this should pick up the colors behind it and be a little less stark, but it's still really pretty, even if it stays this white. And a lot of these geode molds have a hole in the center, so it can look like a rock cut out. I like the ones that don't, because then you can kind of create your own center formation look. That's my personal preference. A lot of people prefer that. Okay, there's a little bit left in there, but all right. Now, what I am on the fence about is whether or not we should put glitter in the middle of this. So this middle will be a lot more see-through than the rest of it. And I have this these glitter shards, and I'm really tempted to put them in just in the very center. But I'm also really on the fence about that. I also think we could put another layer of this, because we still have some. Next to that frosty color, and really kind of pull it together. We still have a little gold, so let's see. And then if we put the glitter in the center, this is just the tiniest bit. You don't want a lot. If we put the glitter in the center, then it would be a lot more noticeable and a lot less, you know, clear white opal, because we would have kind of blended it a little bit. And then we're not wasting this, although I'm going to have a lot of this Abalone color left. So I'm on the fence because the the shard glitter can either look really good. Oh man, I don't like that. See, that epoxy is already starting to set there. I'm gonna have to trust that that's gonna work out. It can either look really good or it can be kind of overly blingy. So I know some people may disagree that there is such a thing as overly blingy. But some people really prefer a very delicate amount of bling. So we'll see. I think what we might do is I might do it without this time and show you guys and see what y'all think. I'll show you what I was thinking about doing, so you can maybe weigh in and tell me, yeah, do that next time, or no, this was good. All right. These are really gonna be pretty, I think. Trying to see which one has the biggest opening still. This one probably. Keep in mind, if you get too much in there, once it goes in the center, we can always kind of push the other stuff back. So this is this color, y'all. I mean, it's really very pretty on its own. So I'm really hesitant to put the glitter in it. I'll show you when I have my gloves off what I was thinking about. So let's see. I'm going to start by putting it in a circle and just see. It's kind of like an opal color. You see? It's really pretty on its own, so I struggle with, should we just leave it, or should I put a tiny bit of glitter in the middle? The glitter would be whitish, like an opal color, or I have a really pretty pink glitter that I got from Lily's. So we'll see. I think I'm gonna leave it in with just this, because for one, this has taken so long already, and we're losing our work time too, so. I might have to add a little epoxy to this, so I'm going to try to get the one with the higher color density in there first. I think it'll be pretty like that, so. I'm just gonna fill in where we need to in the middle, and probably will be a little lighter. Now, it's hard to see what that's gonna look like because it's up against a pink mold. So when you take it out, it's probably going to be more see-through. That's okay, because again, this is supposed to be the center, and so I wouldn't mind having some glitter shards in the center, or some gold or copper flakes. Foil flakes would be cool, but by the same token, I also kind of like how delicate that looks. There is something in there. It's like coffee grounds or something. Gotta get it out. Got it. All right, now we're gonna torch these, and I will end the recording for now, and I will come back with you after these dry, and we'll do the leafing pen on at least one of them. I've never done it before, so know that. So we're gonna lightly torch the bubbles. torching, it's also going to cause some of that stuff to continue to move and heat up. So some of this epoxy that's been in there a minute in the back doesn't really want to move because it's curing already. So that's part of our lesson with not mixing enough epoxy the first time, but still pretty, I think. So this is one up close. There is some sort of a hair in here. Welcome to Dog Hair Central. So I normally would get this out with tweezers, but for the sake of time, I'm just gonna grab that. So you see how sticky that epoxy is getting? It's still wet, but I'm just heating it up as much as possible without burning it, because you can burn it, because I want it to meld with the colors around it. But I can already smell that it's wanting to over torch, so. But at least our middle will blend really well. And I think, honestly, these will look really beautiful once we unmold them and put them in with the leafing pen around it, because it looks pink in the middle, but that's the mold. It will be clear looking. So I'll be back hopefully tomorrow to do that. We'll see you then. Okay, so the coaster dried, and I'm not gonna do all of these on camera, but I wanted to unmold one and do the leafing pen with you guys for at least one of them. I hope that my camera's in view. I'm notoriously really bad at that. Okay, so we're going to use the Krylon leafing pen. This is the 18 karat gold. So you want to shake it until you can hear the little ball. And then I already tested the leafing pen the other day, but if it's brand new, you would just mash it down until it comes out on the bottom. So I did make a boo-boo, and I made them a little too thin. So next time they will be thicker. Still functional as a coaster, but like here's a water bottle. This water bottle's crooked on the bottom, but still holds it. It's just would be a little bit thicker and more resilient if it was thick, a thicker pour in the middle. But once your epoxy hardens all the way, if you're using a good quality epoxy, it should still harden regardless of whether it's thin or not. So, but I think they turned out pretty. I mean, for the first ones, not too shabby. I like the top, the bottom, I don't really like that. From what I have learned is you're probably not gonna get interchangeable use from top to bottom unless you kind of do more of a puddle pour style. And we may try that on a future video, but you know, this was the first one, so make sure you guys can see what I'm doing there. So we're just gonna gently basically draw a beautiful gold outline. You don't have to do this. You could just leave it just like it is. I just think these are cool looking. That was my puppy. So, just like that. And you could even do more than one layer. For the most part, these are pretty easy to use. If you get some ink where you don't want it, you can clean it up pretty quickly. Even use a little alcohol if you need to. Once it dries, it becomes a little bit more difficult. I've heard that people say to use acetone. So you obviously would just want to use it very briefly. And if these were thicker, I think that this touch would add even more to it. But like I said, first time. I'm not going to be too hard on ourselves, right? So the next time, I can't decide if I just want to do something similar to this color scheme with a little bit less of the dark on the outside, a little bit more of the rose gold, pale pink. I think I kind of do want to try that shard glitter in the middle. I also have some square geode shapes that I want to do, so I might do those first. It was a fun experiment, and it was a really fun way to try out my new micas that I hadn't really seen the colors mixed up. So, all right. The other day I took one of these out, and I was outside in the garage while my husband was building something. I was supposed to be helping, but I didn't really know how, so I was just being there for moral support, and I was doing this outside in the driveway because I wanted to try it. This one is a little bit thicker than the first one I did. The first one I did was sort of a little bit more like this thin side. I'm trying not to touch the edge because I don't know how fast it dries. Anyway, these Krylon pens are super cool. They're not cheap, but they're super cool. And they come in silver and copper and 24 karat gold. I don't have the copper, but I do have the silver. And I think I'm going to use the silver one on the other geode mold because I have an idea to do like blues and greens or purples and blues, and to do silver on the outside. So that would be fun, right? Now we know to do that a little bit more epoxy in there. And now I know it'll take about 2 ounces, give or take, to make us feel pretty comfortable with what we want to put in there. But anyway, isn't that cool? Let me see if you can actually see what I'm showing you. So you can see how it creates just a little bit of a classy gold edge. Obviously that will show more if your coasters are thicker, but super cool. I like it. It's, you know, not perfectly what I had in mind, but definitely very pretty. See, I think I got a little bit of gold out of the bounds. Sorry about my arm. I have a little alcohol here. I'm going to just touch it up right there at the edge before it completely dries. Yeah. So yeah, I really like it. Can't wait to try more, try different colors. You can see through the middle, which we kind of anticipated. This is where we were contemplating putting some shard glitter. I think that would have been cool. When I finished them, I briefly thought, I wonder if I should have just done that. But now we know it would have looked kind of cool, but the center still looks cool. Beautiful colors. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, please subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all of the updates. I would love for you to share in the comments what colors you would like to see in the future. Might give us really good ideas. Thank you again. Take care.